It's Matt Maiocco. He's the best. What's happening? We doubled.
Not much. How you doing? Oh wow, I'm just like,
oh, you look good.
Yeah.
Look at this. Hey, I got something. I got something fancy for you. I was just showing everybody.
Okay, let's hear
Look
it.
at that. Like a little picture of you up there. See that? Yeah, that's the background that we're going to use. Since
nice.
we gotta have something fancy for you. Make it really good.
Yeah, it's very flattering, John. Thank you.
Here. I just took it away. Now we're a little closer. Now you and I are more intimate.
Let me just make sure.
You look good.
Okay, everything sounds good.
Yeah, you sound amazing. You look good too.
Cool, thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. I know we got to get.
How's Lund Unleashed treating you?
You know what? It's been pretty amazing. It's pretty cool, and you and I can both attest to this. Not that I got paid by the word, because if I had gotten paid by the word, I'd be living in a box down by the river. But I actually get to finish a sentence. It's nice. Finish a thought. It's kind of refreshing, to be honest with you.
No one's cutting you off.
No, I love that guy, but you know what I mean. I mean, you and I know him for a long time. And, anyway,
he's as knowledgeable. I don't know how there's. I mean, are we just gonna? Yeah, Greg Papa. I don't know how there's enough time in the day to do all the things he does as far as watching film and knowing everything about everything.
Well, there's two things. It's all he is singularly focused like this. There's really nothing else. Although he is in relationships, so I give him that. But it's 24/7, and people think that he's kidding when he says he's driving his Tesla down the road and just putting his hand on there. Because I have one of those too, and you could watch an iPad if your hand was on the wheel, and I don't do that. Are you kidding? But he does. He actually watches like an iPad. He takes one in the shower. He maximizes time like nobody else. Like who takes an iPad in the shower? Like that's my true? 5 minute. It's 100% true. And he actually has something that he puts over it. I was saying this yesterday. The shower is like the 5 to 7 minutes a day that I have that I don't get bothered. And it's a great think tank. And so that's the best. I would never take an iPad into the shower. He really does. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. So he's gonna at some point we're gonna be like reading about him getting electrocuted or something.
Yeah.
And everybody people will say, well, he went out the way he wanted to. He was watching the Carolina Panthers third down offense.
It's unbelievable. Double deep zone and all this kind of stuff. All right. We got a ton to do today. One quick thing I wanted to ask you, because I know you got to get out of here at some point too, but I'm wearing the Cal Fire hat today. I was thinking of you because what was this, 2019? And I remember when I was living in 18 and I was living in Walnut Creek and you could smell the fires. And I'm originally from LA. So I know some people down there have greatly been affected. But I remember in 18, did you lose your childhood home or there was something, right? I know you went up there.
Yeah. So my mom had just moved to Paradise, a retirement community there, where it's a retirement community, but everybody had their own, owned their own houses in that community. And so she got really lucky because the fire started at the other end of town. And if you know where Paradise is, it's, up in the foothills by 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿. There's basically one way in and one way out. And where she lived was kind of on the 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿 side down the Skyway.
That's right.
And so she got out pretty easily, and my brother worked for PG&E, and so I think he gave her like a heads up, like, hey, there's this fire, get out of town. And she did. And the other part of it, I'm going to give advice to people who are impacted in Southern California: get on the insurance quickly.
Especially now in California, everybody's canceling.
The one thing, like I said, that I think that fire happened on a Thursday in Paradise, and Saturday.
I remember you running up there,
yeah. Saturday morning, I went up, and my brother took me, behind the lines, and so we had pictures of everything, the before and after, and the insurance company. I think they were just like they had so many claims to process that we immediately submitted everything, and she was made whole within seriously 5 days. And
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, it happened so quickly. But then I heard horror stories from other people saying, oh, we didn't, we waited or this and that, and now we're jumping through hoops. And so, man, just get on it quickly if you're impacted in any way or know somebody who's impacted. Just boom, get the ad insurance ball rolling.
Good advice. Absolutely. I think it's up to, they're saying like 250 billion plus now in Southern California. It's going to be crazy. All right, let's get to some Niners talk. And I just grabbed this, stole this from you, and then we'll put our beautiful faces back up there. But just so people know, at Maiocco NBCS, please make sure you're following Maddie. How about that? How fancy is that? I just grabbed that. You just put that up, what, about 15 minutes ago? It says 7 minutes, but I probably grabbed that like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and
that's how we have it around here. It's how
honestly,
it works.
I did that because I knew I was going to be going on with you, and I just wanted to have it just kind of seriously. I just wanted to have it organized, like nice. Here are the names. And so,
I'll take this off the board so we can see your face, but I'm just letting people know, like there's what you just thrown out there because that's what people want to know. Coordinator jobs, offense, special teams, defense. Can I ask you one question real quick before we get into all this? Yeah. What is this rule? So Kyle has a guy that he likes, right? In Klay Kubiak, right? Or Klay Kubiak, excuse me, in Klay Kubiak. But he can't hire him as his offensive coordinator. What is that rule?
Yeah, it's weird? The Rooney Rule. And
I see. So can they satisfy the Rooney Rule then hire Klay Kubiak?
Yeah. Now I see. Okay. I reached out to the league. If there's any penalty imposed or anything.
It's such
like
a joke
that.
The way they do it anyway.
Well,
my gosh.
Yeah,
like Leslie Frazier's. I think he's head coach, or he's gonna interview somewhere, and it's like, I know Leslie Frazier's not getting a job. That's just to satisfy the Rooney Rule. That's too bad.
Well, there's two parts of it, and there are people who believe the Rooney Rule has outlived its purpose. I mean, I understand why it was put in, and it's all political now. Where you stand on it, but people ask me, like, why can't teams just hire the person that they want to hire? And my answer to that is that's the whole idea behind the Rooney Rule. It's just that, in the past, the NFL determined that owners can't be left to make their own decisions because they rarely step out of that box that they're so familiar with. And so by elevating the profiles of minority candidates, it just maybe levels the playing field, that at least gets some minority candidates in the door when they wouldn't have ordinarily gotten in the door. And I'll use the example, Klay Kubiak, the 49ers don't have an opening at offensive coordinator. Right. It is a position that is there now that they're going to use to reward Klay Kubiak because he was essentially doing those duties anyway. So by the thought was, well, why would anybody interview for that job when everybody already knows Klay Kubiak's getting that job because the position is being created for Klay Kubiak? And my answer is, and yes, it's, this isn't the earth-shattering or anything, but that tweet I just put out, it included Noah Pauly's name. I didn't know who Noah Pauly is or was.
From Iowa State, yeah.
From Iowa State, and before that, North Dakota State. But I will say this, from this point forward, every time I hear, I will hear Noah Pauly's name now, and I'll go, oh, that was the guy that the 49ers interviewed.
That's a good point.
So it at least puts him on the radar, and it's also a great opportunity. I don't know what your viewers here think of Kyle Shanahan, but I can tell you around the nation, Kyle Shanahan is highly thought of.
Of course.
And so if you're, I was going to say an entry-level coach, but he's been coaching in college football. But if you're a young coach, if you have an opportunity, whether you're on a Zoom or face-to-face, to talk to Kyle Shanahan and he's asking you questions and you have the opportunity to ask him questions, heck yeah, you're going to take advantage of that opportunity.
That's a great point.
And it's also, Shanahan, I'm sure he's very honest with these guys. I'm sure he told him, hey, look, I'm not going to hire you now for this position, but every year there's changeover on a coaching staff, and he'll keep him in mind for future openings.
That's a really good point. All right, so I'm going to pop this up really quick just so you know. So you've got Saleh up there, Deshae Townsend, Staley, Kubiak, Pauly, special teams. Nick Sorensen, of course, was the DC. Jet Modkins, Chris Banjo. I remember him as a player, and Chris Tabor, who's a veteran. So where are they, you think, in this process for these positions?
Well, Can you put that graphic back up?
Yeah, of course I can. Look at this.
Okay.
I mean,
So
look at that. It's super fancy.
if we're talking Rooney Rule, they can hire a defensive coordinator today, right now.
Yep.
Can hire a special teams coordinator right now. I would think on defense, they're looking, Saleh appears to be the front runner. There are certain names that I thought that they would interview that they haven't yet. And the way I worded it, known candidates. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I don't know if they've talked to anybody on the phone to gauge interest or how they are as far as setting up interviews. But I would think that once Robert Saleh's fate is kind of settled as far as he's interviewed with the Jags. Mm-hmm. Today's Thursday, right? No, today's Thursday.
Thursday. In fact, I have another fancy graphic. Look at that. There's Diana Rossini. So just so people know, Vegas. How about the Cowboys? All that kind of stuff. So I'll take that down because I don't want to cover your face. But
yeah, no, it's
are those? Is that legit? Like, does he have a shot at these jobs? The Raiders. Raiders. It sounds like Ben Johnson. Cowboys, I have no idea what Jerry is thinking, but is he? Because if he's legit, obviously he's not going to be the defensive coordinator of the 49ers.
Well, he might be legit. Doesn't mean he's going to get any of these jobs,
right?
But I would say that probably the best thing that happened to Robert Saleh is that he got fired after 5 games with a 2-3 record and right there in the hunt of the AFC East. I think Robert Saleh. He's the kind of guy. If he gets in an interview, he's going to impress people. He's an impressive guy. Now, will they win the? Will it be a popular move with any fan base? Probably not, because if you're talking about the Jaguars, who do the Jaguars need? I mean, I would think that they would need. I mean, so many of these spots, an offensive-minded head coach, right?
For Trevor Lawrence, make sure that their quarterback is maximized, right?
Absolutely. And then so if you hire Saleh, then it becomes like, okay, well, now the more important hire is who's your offensive coordinator? And I don't know that he got the offensive coordinator right with the Jets. They didn't.
Aaron Rodgers.
Well, the offensive coordinator. Yeah, I mean,
which was Nathaniel Hackett, who was in Denver and was buddies with Rodgers, right?
Well, that regime, obviously they drafted Zach Wilson. That didn't work out. Rodgers is, whatever's happened to him.
Right.
Okay, so there's that. The other one is the Cowboys. They have their quarterback, but again, same question: who's going to be their offensive coordinator? The one place that does need a culture change would be the Raiders.
Oh, boy.
And so, I don't know that Saleh has any history with Tom Brady.
And that's who's making the hire, right? This isn't Mark Davis. This is Tom Brady, right?
I think Mark Davis has proven without a shadow of a doubt that he's incapable of running the football side of things. And now there's no Tom Telesco, there's no general manager who's leading that search. So who the heck is doing it? It's got to be Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think Mark Davis is working the phones and talking to, other owners or other general managers and kind of canvassing who the best candidates are? No. I mean, so
well, you know what his history is, and this, is that it's so weird. If he does it, so it's like, I know what I don't know, and he leaves it to somebody else, which Jed York did an amazing job, I think, of just saying, I'm going to stay out of it, and then these football guys are going to do it, and they've been successful, is that when I was working for the Raiders, Mark would take advice from his friends. So like Bill Romanowski, Cliff Branch, George Atkinson. He was like, that's what he was doing. He was fanboying those guys, and so he would take advice, and I think the same thing is happening with Brady. I think the difference is, even though we don't ever know if a star player is going to be a great personnel guy, is that Brady, I think, is in control. I don't know about 100%, but he's got a lot of say. So that might mean Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions OC, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say with Tom Brady is that, even though he wasn't allowed in NFL facilities this year, he has a pretty good gauge on what's happening around the league. And so from what I understand, I know people at that Fox crew that he works with, and apparently one of the not the complaint, but if there's any critique that people who work with him have of him, is that he gets over prepared. So that means, it's kind of like he knows too much. He grinds the film and all that. So at least he has a really good knowledge of what's happening around the league. And we know one thing. I don't think he's not in it to make friends. He's in it to win games. That's just the way he was as a player. I'm assuming that's going to be the way he is as a part owner. So he's not going to be like, oh, I like this guy. He's a friend of mine. I don't know how many friends he has in the business, because if you're that competitive and you're that driven to win, friendships.
Yeah, that's true. Like whatever. Michael Jordan. I remember Jordan didn't have any friends in the NBA. It was just because that's the way he was, and he was so competitive. That's a great point by you. That, like, how many guys he's got relationships in the Patriots realm of things, and maybe some friends with the Bucks, but around the league, you're right. He wasn't a chummy guy.
Yeah, and I would say that if you're going to look for chum, look for him to hire someone. It would have been Vrabel, right?
Right. That's who I thought maybe they'd get, but he was probably too far along with the Patriots, right?
Right. So point. I don't know that. I mean, the key for the Raiders is, man, they got to figure out a lot of things.
Oh man.
And it's a culture situation. So I could see them hiring a defensive culture guy, and I think that's what Robert Saleh is. A culture guy. Of course, they probably thought that same thing about Antonio Pierce, and that didn't work out. But I know that the initial question was about Saleh.
Yeah, that's all right.
But
what do they do if it's not Saleh? If Saleh gets one of these jobs or something? Because if he doesn't, let me ask you this: if he doesn't get a head coaching job, so he's already talked to the Jags, he's going to talk to the Raiders, going to talk to the Cowboys. If he doesn't get a head coaching job, is he definitely the defensive coordinator?
I don't know. Definitely. I mean, but the one thing that is interesting to me is his name hasn't come up in any other defensive coordinator jobs. Now, some of that might have to do with only one of 6 jobs has been filled. Vrabel's the only one that's been filled, right?
That's it. Yeah.
So is Vrabel going to hire Robert Saleh as defensive coordinator? Probably not. But what about some of these other, vacancies that are filled? So that's why I think it's important for the 49ers to get on it. And, once they find out, I mean, if Saleh's their guy, and all indications seem to be that he is, they have to get on it. What Saleh has to determine is whether, he wants to be a head coach again. There's no question. Everybody who's ever been a head coach and didn't succeed wants another crack at it. What Saleh has to determine is what's his best avenue toward becoming a head coach again. Is it to go back? And again, people in the Bay Area, for whatever reason, are mixed on this, but there will be people around the country who look at it like, oh, Saleh's just, with his tail between his legs, going back to Kyle Shanahan to get under that Shanahan umbrella where they produce, assistant coaches who become head coaches. They produce, personnel guys who become general managers. He's going back there because that's the easy way, to become a head coach again. So what he'd have to answer is, A, is the personnel there with the 49ers that makes it easy for me to reestablish the 49ers as a top flight defense, or is there a better opportunity somewhere else? And I'll just, because you mentioned his name, Ben Johnson. Who's Ben Johnson's defensive coordinator going to be? Would Saleh be in the mix for that? Well, that to me would seem like a pretty good opportunity, depending, where Ben Johnson ends up. But that's what Saleh is going to have to determine. Yeah. Now, there's some other defensive coordinator names, and the reason I worded it on that thing I posted, known candidates. So these are people who have interviewed, or the Kyle Shanahan himself has said are candidates: Brandon Staley, Nick Sorensen.
Yeah, there you go.
From day one, from the moment that Saleh was fired with the Jets, I thought the number one candidate would be Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah,
because Ulbrich, ran that Jets defense very well. He and Shanahan know each other very well. Ulbrich has the Bay Area ties, and Ulbrich was going to become available. We all knew from the moment he took over as interim head coach, unless the Jets turned it around and we're a playoff team and we're flying high into the playoffs, Jeff Ulbrich wouldn't be back with the Jets. So that's a name that has always been not even in the back of my mind. It's been in the front of my mind, but he hasn't interviewed yet. Who knows if he will, but that's why I worded it that way. Known candidates, people we know for sure have spoken to Shanahan formally about this job.
All right. As far as other offseason issues, number one on the list, number 1, 2, and 3 on the list is Brock Purdy. And not only is he going to be talked about locally, nationally, he's the next one up. Didn't have maybe the season that he would have liked. The team didn't have the season they would have liked. So where does that leave Brock? And not only from a financial standpoint, but the big question now is, and I know you've talked to Kyle about it, all you guys have talked to Kyle about it, is how quickly can it happen? Because normally Parag Marathi and the 49ers around training camp would be nice, but it's different. It's different because Brock's got to get in there. He's got to do the OTAs, and his agent is not going to let him do that. You got to throw the ball around with Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk. And so to do all those things, you got to get a deal done. Both sides say they want to get a deal done, but that doesn't mean one will happen. So how do you see this, not only from a financial standpoint, but from a timing standpoint?
It's different because he's a quarterback.
Yep.
You can't have the quarterback twisting in the wind. You just can't. We saw what happened with a wide receiver and a left tackle when that happened. And it was obvious, being around. It was a huge distraction, and it set the 2024 season back. There's no question it did. Just the drama, and the hold in was more distracting than the hold out.
Oh, my God. And he was on the field, and
he was on the field.
Oh, my God, is he getting traded?
He walked up to Shanahan and give him the hug on the field.
We're trying to decipher what that means.
Yeah, what's going on? And then, I was reporting about 49ers had trades in place with teams, and it was just like all he had to do was sign off on it. Turned out there were more trades that they were working on, so it was a huge distraction. I look back at 2017 when they made the midseason trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. He starts the final 5 games of that season. He did not have a contract for the 2018 season. What they do, they signed him, I believe it was like February 15th. So the middle of February, they got that done. Kyle Shanahan talked about last week looking at the offseason calendar and looking and going 14 weeks until phase 1 of the offseason program begins. And I'm not good with converting weeks to.
Are you looking at calendar right now?
Well, I'm looking at calendar because I wrote down. There we go. April 21st is phase 1 of the offseason program. So you ask me what the timeline is.
Yeah,
that's it. It's 14 weeks apparently. Phase 1 of the offense of the program of the 49ers offseason program. Now that's just like conditioning, going out, working with strength and conditioning coach.
Right.
But I think they expect their quarterback there to set the tone.
Well, and just like you just said, by the way, my wife made fun of me about this, but I have this.
There we go.
I got to write everything down. I got to write. I got to count. I got a day planner. And they don't even sell them anymore. I had to order it for the year. And my wife is just like, why don't you just do it online? I'm like, I have to write things down. I'm sorry. And so I love to see that you've got something like that because it makes me feel better.
Yeah. Usually, and this wasn't a great example of this. Usually when I write something down, I remember it better because I'm like taking the time to write it down. It didn't work in this case because I had to refer to it.
But you had it written down. Like if you
it was more theatrical.
I liked it though. I think it was really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So, but here's what I want people to understand too, that all these phases, Brock's all excited. He wants to get back. And I don't think people realize that even though you throw the ball to Brandon Ayuk for years, they were still never on the same page this year. And Ricky Pearsall with the injuries and the shooting, they really didn't get on the same page. So they got to get out and, Brock's going to have to pay for this, but a guy who can buy 10 Toyotas can probably figure out a way. When they go down to San Diego, he pays the way, they all throw together. I mean, that's kind of the thing in the off season. So that's all got to get done, because he may want to do all these things, but his agent's going to go, no. You're not taking a chance on $250 or $300 million, 50, 55, 60 a year, whatever it's going to end up being. You can work out and everything, but you're not going to do anything that could risk anything whatsoever, because if you have an injury, then we have a major problem. So he's not going to be in OTAs. He's not going to be doing these things. He's not going to be, I'm not going to say he's going to be doing what he was doing, a couple of years ago, rehabbing an arm, but he's not going to do a ton until he gets that deal done.
Well, it's about leverage, right? I mean, how can, from Brock Purdy and his agent standpoint, how can we expedite this? And the answer is to withhold services until it's need to be. But, it's more than just the tangible of getting on the field, working with people. It's the other part of it. It's just the tone that it sets in the franchise with the organization. I guarantee you, if phase 1, phase 2, whatever, OTAs, the offseason program rolls around and Brock Purdy isn't there, everybody in the organization, the sales and marketing team, the IT guy.
Oh, you're right.
Joan and payroll, everybody will feel the impact.
That's a great point.
Starting quarterback not there. Not just the locker room, not just the coaching staff, not just everybody. That's just the way it is, man. The quarterback is a different beast. He is different than any other person in all of professional sports. And the moment Brock Purdy shows up, the moment Brock Purdy is happy and has a smile and grabs the feather pen and puts his John Hancock to paper, everybody in the entire organization just takes a deep breath. It's like, okay, it's on.
That's a great point. All right, real quick, because I know you jump out of here. A couple other guys that we talk about, and then I got to let you go. Dre Greenlaw is an interesting one. Played basically half of a game, and is there anybody out there that would give him money? And that I've been saying until I'm blue in the face, I can't see Deebo returning. I know what John said to you guys, but I see Purse on the slot. I see Aiyuk coming back. I see Jennings on the other side, and I see Deebo as a kick returner, and you can't pay $24 million to a kick returner. So those two guys, just really quick.
Yeah. I was kind of thrown off on that social media post where the wags, wives and girlfriends got together and basically, they were saying goodbye to Dre Greenlaws, and I apologize. I don't know if that's girlfriend, fiance.
Yeah.
So anyway, I apologize for that, not knowing.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
But it struck me like, what's going on here? Because I can't imagine the 49ers during their exit meeting said, Dre, it's been nice knowing you. Good luck wherever your travels take you. I just couldn't imagine that happened. And Kyle and John said that didn't happen. They want him back. I'm with you. If your belief is who would give him a multi-year deal? I mean, he's a great player. We saw in a very limited sample size how important he is to that defense. But unless you know exactly how he fits in your defense, and unless you really know all the other factors, how well he's liked, respected, all that, I don't know that another team would take the risk.
Unless Robert Saleh was somewhere and wanted to set a tone. And let's say, I'm just throwing it out there, the Raiders, and it's an Achilles injury, but let's say they gave him 3 years. I mean, if I'm the Niners, it's like, you got to do a prove it deal, but he may,
you know what? If you're Robert Saleh, the general manager's going, are you sure?
Yeah, right. Good point.
So you're using some of your good credit right off the bat. And if Robert Saleh is wrong, then can't really.
Especially if it's Tom Brady, because remember when he intercepted Brady and then he got Brady to sign the ball. So I mean, Brady knows
Brady's probably like, no way,
he's signing that guy.
Yeah, and then the other one, Deebo.
Real quick on Deebo.
I just think Deebo. I think they're a better team with Deebo, and I don't know what that role is, but we saw the injuries. I mean, can you just assume that Ricky Pearsall is going to be the guy? Can you assume that Brandon Aiyuk is going to return and be where he was in 2023? I don't think the cap hit is much at all for Deebo. I don't think there's much of a trade market for him on the final year of his deal.
I agree with you there. Yeah, I don't.
So, and you know what? He's kind of prickly.
Oh boy,
he kind of blows hot and cold, but the people in the locker room really like him. Mm-hmm. And then Kyle Shanahan really likes him. And so the thing is too, once, like what John Lynch said, on camera for everybody to see, basically, I mean, I asked him straight out, do you expect him on the team? And he said, yes. And like, we're not in the business of giving away good players or whatever he said. Well,
and you believe that because everybody knows, lying season is all the time that they say certain things. When he said that, like, they were really emphatic about Brock. Clearly, they sound a little bit like we don't know with Dre.
Yeah.
How did you take that answer? Not only what he said, but how he said it.
I just think that if you're sitting up there lying about a player, what is that? That sends a horrible signal, because now Deebo's going, oh, I'm back. And then if, 2 months down the road, they say, hey, Deebo, you're not back. Then Deebo's like, when his teammates call him like, hey, I thought you were coming back. Yeah, I thought so too. So guess that shows you can never trust what John Lynch says. I think that once the 49ers have tried to, John Lynch has said it repeatedly that, he wants to treat players like he wanted to be treated as a player. And Kyle Shanahan, kind of his MO is he's brutally honest with these guys. So, I mean, you might be right, but I'd say if you are right, then that strips away big time at the credibility of those guys, of what they've tried to build since they've been here.
That's a good point. All right, we got to let you go because you got to run, but look at that. Todd says, love Matt. He shook his hand outside Giant Stadium.
Wow, that was a few years ago, because it's been a while since I've been to Giants Stadium. Giants, I'm assuming, means
he's probably talking a Giants game. Todd's probably talking a Giants game. Yeah, I would think so, right?
Oh, I remember Todd. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, you're the nicest guy. Seriously, you're not one of those arrogant guys. You're a super nice guy. You always shake hands. Big Giants fan. We don't have time to talk Giants, but
Jim. Well, Jim, I would say I know all the. John, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. You are the best. You were one of the first guys to call me and say, hey, so I appreciate it. I'm having a great time with this, but always appreciate your insight, and everybody loves you, man. The chat line's going crazy, man. But we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, John. Good luck with everything, and let's obviously stay in touch.
You got it. That's the great Matt Maiocco. Thanks, man.